What is expected on online dating? I am fortunate enough to have found someone through the roller coaster of online dating, so rather than disappear, I wanted to share my experiences, which I hope will be of help. I spent a long time trying to dial in exactly what it was that made me go from pretty unsuccessful in both online and in person dating to successful. Please bear in mind that his is my own personal experiences, and won't necessarily be exactly translatable to how you experience dating. I'm sure plenty of people may come back saying, well, I have all those things and I'm still not getting anywhere. I'm truly sorry to hear that. But I just wanted to lay out what worked for me. This is the sort of information I would have really appreciated when I was starting out. To be clear, this is also very much coming from the perspective of a guy. But I hope it might still be interesting to hear for the women out there. For reference, I am an average height mixed Asian 26-year-old male in the UK. By no means particularly good looking, but I have managed to attract some really attractive girls. Another bit of context. Prior to doing the whole dating thing again a few months previous, I came out of a nearly 3-year relationship, where I had found out she was cheating on me with multiple people the entire time. Because I had good self-esteem, I felt like I was worthy of someone attractive and desirable. Because I was attractive and desirable. The other side of the mindset shift is viewing online dating as a bit of a side hustle, i.e., it's not your main thing. You definitely need to put into it to be successful as an average guy, but don't let it define you. Try to view it through a light-hearted lens as a bit of fun. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then easy come, easy go. And got into a relationship with another person. I was living with her and it was obviously very traumatic. I managed to work on my mental health through many one-on-one chats with my amazing sister and mates, and it was truly priceless in helping me recover. Do not neglect your mental health and take a break if you need to. The unsuccessful stage, let's call it the first stage, was me doing dating on and off for about 3 years in my early 20s. In this time I had dates with 4 girls, all of whom at some point down the line rejected me. I wanted to experience different people, but didn't sleep with any of them. In the second stage, where I was successful, I was 26 and within a couple of weeks, I managed to get 3 dates in 1 week. The first date went really well and ended in a hookup. The second one I let down gently as I wasn't really interested. And the third girl is now my girlfriend. I went into it the mindset of having some fun. No real intention of rushing into another relationship. But it ended up just falling into place. So here's my tangible advice on what worked wonders for me. I hope it helps. I'm going to split the advice into 2 sections. 1 Things I do before the date. 2 Things I do during the date. Things I do before the date. 1 High self-esteem. This for me is the most important one by a country mile. All of these posts I've seen about being confident. I think it is a sort of confidence, but it's more nuanced than that. It's confidence in yourself. For me, when I really sat down and thought about what had materially changed between before and now, It was that I had high self-esteem now. I got this high self-esteem through forming strong and lasting relationships with mates and my family, and through a strong sense of worth in my job and my many hobbies. When you feel this, rejection doesn't hurt so much. You tend not to overthink things so much and you bring your best self. For some people, finding this high self-esteem is the biggest battle of all and is the single barrier to success. In online dating, it is hard. But for me, it was the key. Prior to doing the whole dating thing again, I came out of a nearly 3-year relationship, where I had found out she was cheating on me with multiple people the entire time, and got into a relationship with another person. I prioritized my mental health and spoke for hours one-on-one with my sister and had phone calls with my mates to work through it and unpack everything. Honestly, it worked wonders and I found myself confident and raring to go by the end of it. Of course, this took several months, and it was a serious emotional roller coaster, but I wanted to make it work. And I spent a lot of time in the outdoors and exercising, which definitely paved the way for a better me. 2. Mindset shift. I'm sure this is linked to, but my mindset completely shifted when I went into dating this time round. Rather than thinking, how do I act in a certain way to impress this girl so that she'll fall for me, and this can go further, my mindset was much more selfish. The thought process was, now let's see if this girl is a fit for me. What does she bring to the table? Part of this came from the fact that not only do you stand out, but you demonstrate to someone that you put effort into things, and that's probably a good signal for any potential partner. As an average-looking guy, you need a great profile to stand out. I've spent so long looking through profile reviews, and honestly so many of them aren't great at all. While that's disappointing, it also means the profile competition isn't always as fierce as you think. A great profile can really make you stand out from the crowd. 3. Have a great profile. I cannot overstate this one enough. I don't really know why this didn't hit me enough when I was dating previously and having little success. Very few matches, let alone dates. You are competing against other guys. You need a great profile to stand out. Clear shots in good lighting which make you look interesting. Show off your interests and your hobbies by having a great profile. When I did this properly, I spent easily 3 to 4 hours doing a photo shoot with my sister. I would have honestly paid someone otherwise. 95% of the shots were bad, but 1 in 20 was great. And they were the ones I used. Yes, it was cringy, but once it's done, it's done. The difference was very material. A few years ago, I was getting 1 to 2 matches a month on Tinder, and now I was getting a solid 1 match a day on average on Hinge. Obviously, it's still not tons compared to what attractive girls can get, but it's about the quality of matches. You do obviously need some quantity of matches though, which is where a great profile comes into play. 4. Set a date quickly. The successful interactions I had with the app were successful because I moved quickly. Girls have a lot of options. My current girlfriend, who I met on Hinge told me she got 100 plus likes in a day on Hinge before. If they have a lot of options, don't draw things out. Be confident, make a move, and if they're not interested, then move on. The successful dates I had involved matching couple of messages on the app, get their WhatsApp, then try to set up a date within 3 days or so. Definitely within a week. When you move quickly, you're new and interesting and they have chance to lose interest. Additionally, you should move quickly to protect yourself. I say this because by getting a date in quickly, you give yourself less chance to become over-invested in someone and start overthinking things based on your fairy tale image of what this person could be. This is something I definitely did, and this is a good way to combat it. 5. Have some empathy. I never see people post about this on this sub literally ever. As a guy, try to put yourself in the shoes of a girl. As a girl, try put yourself in the shoes of a guy. The best way to do this is to get a friend of the opposite sex and with their permission, go on their online dating profile. I did this as a guy and I was kind of shocked. The amount of gross, sexually suggestive, or just downright explicit messages, images, etc. The stalking of their Instagram, then messaging on there. When they don't respond on the app, I naively believed that because I'm not remotely like that, and neither are any of the people I hang out with, then other guys aren't either. Wrong. What this means is be mindful of meeting in a public place for a first date. When she comes over to yours, give her your address ahead of time so she can tell people where she's at, etc. Guys, try to empathize with the lived experience of girls. For girls, try to empathize with the lived experience of guys. Online dating can be an absolute shit show for guys. It can be such a grind to get matches, let alone dates. Girls expecting guys to organize everything and pay for absolutely everything. The few matches you get as a guy are often extremely flaky because they have so many more options than you. To combat this, if you're a girl and are interested in going for a date, don't play games and make your messages engaging and clear-cut. There is nothing wrong with progressing things as a girl and suggesting that you should meet up. This is what the first girl I dated this time round did, and I massively respected it. If you're not interested, don't ghost, don't play games. Just tell the guy you're not interested as that he can move on. 6. Hinge. This is very personal and specific to me, but I found Hinge to be far better than the apps I was using a few years back. The key USP on Hinge is that you can message someone before you've matched with them. This is such a powerful tool as a guy. If you can throw together an observant funny message about something in their profile which provided they're active on the app, they'll see prior to matching. It really does boost your chances of matching, because they're not just matching on a selection of photos, but on a personal message you've sent them to. 7. Being older. I know this might not seem like helpful advice, but I wanted to include it anyway to give some of the younger guys a bit of perspective if they're struggling. I found that there was a material difference between online dating As a guy and dating at 26. Aside from the obvious maturity gains, from my experience, girls tend to date guys who are at least their age or older, which means the pool of dateable girls is very small. In your early 20s. Additionally, I found girls are generally looking for less serious things in their early 20s and get a lot more serious about finding a partner in their mid-20s. I wanted to call this out because I've seen a number of posts about guys struggling in their early 20s, and I think particularly in online dating. It is just straight up fucking hard as a guy in your early 20s. You're much better off in person, I reckon. Things I do during the date. 1. A first date doesn't have to be expensive. 2. Something intimate and simple is much better. My successful dates didn't involve fancy restaurants or bars. Instead, we sat by a river in a public place with a bottle of wine. I also think having a little bit of darkness works wonders for amping up any sexual tension between the two of you. Also, dinner dates are terrible first dates mob. Because if there isn't chemistry, and there's awkwardness, then that's heightened between the two of you. Also, you're usually sitting opposite, so there's no way to break the touch barrier. I can't overemphasize this enough. But, remember, you don't know each other for a first date. So why would you go all out? Going all out with a big dinner and drinks date piles on the pressure for you both when there's already a lot of pressure on a first meet-up. A nice dinner on a third date? Sure. But not for a first date. 3. Break the touch barrier early. I understand COVID has made this much more difficult. But as more and more people are vaccinated, you really have to break the touch barrier with them. And be physical early on. In normal times, I would always give a kiss on the cheek when I first meet them. A relationship, if that's what you're going for, cannot form if there is no intimacy. It's dead in the water. You need to show you're interested, and you need to escalate that interest every time so she's comfortable with you. Start small, e.g. touching their shoulder when you make them laugh. Scooch closer to them a little. Sitting side by side is much more intimate than face to face. Read the signs. If they're okay with it, then they will start to reciprocate. If they're uncomfortable, they will move away slightly or be a bit awkward, then you back off a bit. The point is that if you break the touch barrier early, going for a kiss later on isn't massive deal. Whereas, if you haven't touched her at all up until this point, then it's going to be a huge deal going for a kiss. And is going to be off-putting because it'll feel like it's come out of nowhere. Also, if you go for a kiss and she rejects you, just laugh about it. It really isn't the end of the world. It's funny. And if it's funny, it's not awkward. Everyone loves to be around someone who can laugh at themselves. It's attractive and infectious. It might not have been the right moment, and she might be up for it late. Or she might not, and you're not a match. Either way, you put your best foot forward, you went for it. 4. Keep the conversation fun and light-hearted. Strike the balance of having an interesting and nuanced opinion on things. Don't be afraid to disagree. but definitely don't be dogmatic about anything. I would personally avoid topics like politics on a first date, and instead stick to topics like hobbies, sports, pets, etc. The heavier stuff can come later on when you both feel you're a match. 5. If it's going well, tell her. Sometimes people need a bit of reassurance. And there's nothing wrong with making yourself a little vulnerable. Telling her you're having a good time. And giving her the opportunity to agree, maybe do this a couple of hours in, is also a good segue into setting up a second date. If you're feeling it. Solid advice. This is pretty much what I learned as well. I will say that I always had issues breaking the touch barrier early. As in, I personally just didn't want to. I'm generally very H3WI5QN5 about a person being in my personal space. And I know it held me back from forming intimate connections. The touching thing is solid. Physical affection is my go-to for calming down nerves and breaking the ice better. Of course, body language is everything. And if they stiffen up or seem uncomfortable, do your best to be considerate. The power of touch is real, y'all. Preach. This was such a refreshing take on this sub. Hopefully gets lots of reads. Good on you, OP. This was all top-notch dating advice. Thank you. I just wanted to share that it's not all doom and gloom out there. Wow, happy for you, man. The only part that scares me is the touch barrier part. I'm still really uncomfortable touching people when I'm not sure how they might respond. I can't quite explain why. I just feel like too shy to try that. LOL. Aw, thanks. This is really good advice from a woman's perspective. Congrats on your success. Thanks for watching my video.